I was stationed there, still green behind the ears, attached to a penal legion during an internal governance spat. Not full-blown heresy, just greedy governors clawing at each other's throats. Made my job simple: shoot anyone who hesitated. The usual imperial grind. But then the reports started filtering in. Clean work. Too clean. We were used to messy, brutal engagements, massacres with plasma fire and chain axe hacks. But this was different. Assassinations, really. Targets dropped in secure compounds, entire platoons silenced in under a minute, all with precision bolt pistol shots or knife work so fast the victims never even raised a lasgun. They were calling him the ghost of the lower spires. I called him a logistical nightmare. One morning, my adjutant brought me a vidlog from a surveillance drone. It was grainy, static-laced, but the footage was undeniable. A man. Just a man. No power armor, no augmented limbs, wearing a simple, tailored black trench coat that stood out against the drab gray and rust of the Hive. He moved through a firefight like the projectiles were merely slow-moving insects. A squad of Governor Valerius's private mercenaries, hardened killers, I knew them, tried to ambush him from 3 sides. The ghost didn't dodge, he simply flowed. 3 bursts of fire from a silenced, customized stubber. 3 targets down: head, heart, throat. In less time than it takes a guardsman to panic. It was terrifyingly efficient. He was operating solely within the no-fly zone, a network of abandoned transit tunnels the PDF had designated a lost cause. His primary target, as we eventually deduced, was not political. It wasn't about power. It was about an item. A small, silver-carved statuette, no bigger than a field ration tin, taken from his private quarters during a raid. Later, we learned it was far more than a trinket. It was a Xenos artifact, apparently, a focus for some minor, insignificant creature he called Daisy. The sheer, ridiculous absurdity of it. A galactic war fought over a dog. In the 41st millennium, the only pet you need is a loaded weapon. But for him, it was everything. I finally got my first clear look at him when my regiment was ordered to secure a manufactorum that he had just passed through. The governor's men were everywhere, but the ghost had already gone, leaving a trail of bodies that were almost works of art in their brutal simplicity. Every single one, a clean single shot or a broken neck. No excess, no waste. That's when I started hearing the nickname. The few men who survived his passes wouldn't name him. They would only shake and whisper, Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, the thing you send to kill the other things that go bump in the night. The Imperial Guard, with all its billions of souls and trillions of rounds of ammunition, had somehow stumbled upon a predator whose personal kill ratio dwarfed that of a Space Marine chapter. And he was just getting started. We saw him breach a fortified spire, a section that had resisted a full company of guardsmen for 2 days. He did it in 7 minutes. 7 minutes of silence, punctuated by the faint thwip of a silenced weapon. When we finally stormed the objective, the scene was carnage, but controlled carnage. Every casualty was a member of the enemy force. He didn't harm a single civilian or a single Imperial loyalist. He had a code. And in the brutal, chaotic, random violence of the Imperium, a man with a code is a walking, talking anomaly. That code, his personal moral compass, was his greatest strength, and ultimately, his most dangerous weakness. Because the moment his efficiency started attracting too much attention, the Inquisition took notice. Inquisitor Varus was a man of cold logic and colder faith. He didn't care about the governor's petty squabbles. He only saw a highly skilled, unregistered asset operating outside of Imperial sanction. A man who was capable of slaughtering entire Imperial organizations, even if they were technically traitors. An unaccounted variable. And in the Imperium, unaccounted variables are the first step to heresy. Varus sent his own squad of stormtroopers, Karskin, the best of the best, to intercept him in the abandoned cargo terminal, Sector Delta 9. It wasn't an arrest order. It was a termination order. The Inquisitor's report read, "While effective against immediate threats, the subject's unwillingness to employ orbital bombardment or mass civilian culling in pursuit of his objective renders his methods a threat to overall strategic efficiency. Designate Purge." See? His reluctance to go full 40k was his death sentence. I was present, standing guard on the perimeter. The Karskin were ready. Laser tripwires, remote detonators, heavy bolter emplacements. They had every angle covered. And yet the battle, if you could call it that, was over before the first backup squad arrived. The air went silent first. Then the rhythmic thump-thump of heavy footsteps, not the ghosts, but the sound of an empty power suit hitting the ferrocrete. Then another, and another. The Karskin were supposed to be invisible, masters of infiltration. But the ghost had simply read the environment. He didn't need augmetics or auspexes. He saw the pattern of the ambush. He used the environment against them, ricocheting specialized high-velocity rounds off the pillars, using dust and smoke from small, timed charges to blind the targeting systems. He disarmed the heavy bolter emplacements by shooting the hydraulic lines, not the gunners. It was a masterclass in controlled chaos. He wasn't relying on sheer firepower, he relied on physics and psychology. When the Karskin commander finally confronted him, a veteran with 20 years of service, the ghost didn't even hesitate. The commander was wearing power armor. The ghost fired 5 rounds from his stubber, not at the armor. He shot the exposed joints, the visor slit, and the cooling vents. The commander dropped. 5 precision hits, exploiting every single weakness in a multi-million credit suit of armor. In a galaxy that relies on brute force, this was sheer, terrifying skill. Varys was furious. He realized he couldn't defeat the ghost with conventional, sanctioned forces. He needed something outside the Imperial rulebook. He needed to fight fire with heresy. And so the Inquisitor made a deal. He located the person who had ordered the initial theft of the statuette, a minor, ambitious chaos cultist who operated under the pretense of a loyalist governor. Varys presented the ghost with the location, the target, and a simple offer: kill the cultist and recover the artifact. In exchange, the Inquisition would afford him a period of unsanctioned neutrality, a bizarre, impossible contract. But the ghost accepted, because it gave him exactly what he wanted: his revenge. The final scene, the one that truly defined him, was the assault on the cultist's manor. We didn't send the guard. We simply observed. The cultist, protected by hundreds of desperate, weapon-crazed followers, was a tough target. But the ghost didn't use a meltagun, didn't call for a bomber run. He just walked in. And for the next 3 hours, every transmission we intercepted was a scream. Not the screams of battle, but the screams of realization. Realization that you're dealing with something you can't kill, something that won't stop, and something that is fueled by an emotion far older and purer than devotion to chaos, grief, and rage. He didn't just kill them. He made them understand why they were dying. The cultist was found dead at his desk, shot through the hand and then the eye. The silver statuette, recovered, wiped clean. The ghost was gone before Varys's men could secure the perimeter. He kept his end of the bargain, and the Inquisition, to my eternal surprise, kept theirs. They listed him as a self-purged asset and wiped the sector records clean. You know, in this grim, dark galaxy, we focus so much on the vastness of the war, the billions of soldiers, the colossal ships, the endless slaughter. But sometimes, a single man, driven by a simple primal fury, can have more impact than 1,000 regiments. He taught me a lesson I never forgot. Efficiency is the purest form of ruthlessness, and the most dangerous man in the galaxy isn't the one who follows the rules of war. It's the one who follows his own impossible code. He was John Wick, the Baba Yaga of the Hive, and he was proof that even in the 41st millennium, some contracts are too personal to break. Now, you want another shot of that Amasek, or are you ready for the next story?